Welcome to the Spirited Conversation podcast, Straight Talk, served neat. Join us to hear from business leaders, entrepreneurs, and industry insiders as they discuss their stories and insights for success. Now, share a spirit and make a toast as you immerse yourself in the conversation. Here's your host and Chief Libation Officer, Tony Deblauwe.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for listening. I'm really excited to speak with the guests I have today. It's the husband and wife team behind Teneia Music. Now, this musical duo took off on the open road to spread their message of love and equality through their music. And the great thing about their story is that it showcases life as entrepreneurs, getting funding, going to market, and essentially building their brand. So I hope you join the conversation as much as I did.
Today on Spirit Conversation, I am joined by the lovely Teneia and her husband, Ben. These musicians prove what it means to follow your heart and build a business, no matter where the open road takes you. We will learn more about their story, but first, I have chosen a special spirit for you. This is the Russell's Reserve 10-year single batch bourbon. It's from Wild Turkey, and it's steeped in history using a generations-old sour mash build. So let's give it a try.
Sounds great.
I'm excited.
As you're trying this, I'm going to read a little bit about it and tell you why I chose it for you.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay? So the master crafting of this bourbon leans on a rich tradition with good kick of spice that leads into a smooth sweetness of maple and caramel, giving it a very warm feeling. Would you agree?
Oh my God, it's delicious.
I like it a
Oh
lot.
my God,
Yeah.
I love it. It is delicious. Yeah. And I lived in Kentucky for years. So I love Kentucky bourbon. So I love bourbon. It's like, this is delicious.
First time I visited her in Louisville, I was kind of in heaven with the bourbon selection that was available.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to fall in love. And that's why it's my favorite spirit, of all of the different choices that we have out there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I chose it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I listen to your music and I listen to your voice, you have a very unique sound. And that also comes from a very rich background, which is Southern gospel, it's folk, it's blues. It really informs who you are when you sing, and it creates that unique sound. So in the spirit of tradition and the background that makes you who you are and makes you unique, the Russell Reserve 10-year.
Fantastic.
Cheers to that.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Love it.
One of the things we talked about in every time you go on stage and you talk to folks about, your journey and what you're looking to do and going on the open road, that's a fascinating thing. You took your story and your journey literally on the open road. Talk a little bit about that and why you made that decision.
The funny thing is we knew we wanted to tour. And that was one of the reasons I loved Ben and wanted to marry him, because I said, I just want to play music and travel the world. And he said, I do too. And I called my mom. I said, I've met my unicorn. I've met my person that I want to marry. That's fantastic and wants to travel and do fun things. But the RV thing actually kind of was just a short progression. We initially were just throwing around ideas of getting car companies to sponsor us. And then we figured out that those cars would be too small for what we needed. And then it went from a short-term goal to 2 months or 3 months to why don't we do this long-term and get an RV? And so that was like a month of talking and really considering, taking a leap. And within that, we would talk to our fans and they said, if you do this, we will help fund you. We believe in you guys and we think that you need to get your music out there to more people. And so it just happened. We set up a crowdfunding thing on Indiegogo. We wanted $20,000. We raised over $22,000 in 30 days and just kind of forced us to go. We didn't have a huge plan because we didn't have time to plan, really. So we just had to kind of go with the flow of that.
It started with the idea of us trying to get our music out there more. We wanted to reach a larger audience. We thought that we had a message that would be valuable for people to hear. We knew that we wanted to do this. This was kind of our deepest passion. And so that's where it kind of started. And like Teneia said, through these different iterations of, do we want to do it short term? Do we want to do it long term? I had a job at the time that I thought I would take a leave of absence from, and that turned into a full-on just resignation.
Yeah, a long absence.
A long absence. And it's been an amazing thing. I definitely think we made the right move. as she said, when we mentioned this idea to friends and fans, we were very much encouraged to do it. This was something that people were, I think, even from the standpoint of people living vicariously through us, they always wanted to get in an RV and just go. So they believed in us, and it was all signs pointed to go, is kind of what the situation was. And when those things started lining up, we kind of knew. We don't know exactly how this is going to happen. We don't know exactly what the sequence of events will be after we've left Phoenix, but we know that we're supposed to go. We feel the push.
Right. And that leads me to my next question. So life on the road is similar to tech startups.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of unknowns.
Yeah.
You're as prepared as you can be, but you have to be ready for challenges and adjust on the fly because you don't always know what's coming at you. So from that perspective, what have you learned about each other while on the road? And how has that impacted how you're building your business?
That's a really good question. For me, beginning was a little bit tough for us, just like it is starting anything really new, because we didn't have a format to follow. I think with, other businesses, if you go out and you say, I'm going to do this, you have a similar thing. We did have a friend that I reached out to before we bought our RV, but they had a Westphalia. Is that what you call it, right?
Yeah, it was another husband-wife couple who had done something similar to what we did, but they had a much smaller vehicle. We kind of had sort of a template to follow, but sort of.
Yeah, but they just kind of went, and they didn't really have a plan either. So they didn't have a plan to tell us, So it was, we were all kind of figuring it out. And, we did a different format by raising money and that kind of thing. The challenges at the beginning was really learning how to maneuver our rig, which is total with our truck, and travel trailer is probably about 50.
Yeah, 50 plus. I've never actually measured the whole thing, but
so trying to park that anywhere and back it up was a thing. And then also trying to figure out how everything ran and gas, how expensive it would be. We didn't know exactly how expensive, how much cost would go into it. So we, really learned a lot on the very beginning. I think the first 6 months were probably the toughest, just trying to maneuver. But, that's for us, the technical part of like the rig. The shows were amazing. So we knew that we were in the right space because we were meeting all these people that were like, we love you. Can you come 5 months from now and play our wedding? So we were getting multiple shows just from being on the road and playing the shows that we kind of set up. So that was a really nice point of encouragement to keep us going.
And so along with that, so your mobile office, your life, your home is this RV.
yeah.
And so you have to still create, do the business, do website, do all of that stuff while you're going to these shows. So, how did you put all of that together? Did you have a set of tour dates set up before you set out? Or was it just we go to city and go to local places? So how did you engage with people in order to start, getting your name out there?
Right. We had a few ideas of what we thought might happen or how we thought we could do it. And most of those have changed between that time and now. We had a couple things planned. We knew that we were going to leave Phoenix. We were going to go to Mississippi and do something. And then from there, we had something planned in Louisville, Kentucky. And then after that, it would just kind of fill in. And to a certain extent, they did. To some extent, they didn't. That was one of the things that we had to learn about during that initial startup period, was kind of managing the inputs and outputs a little better. We started off with this kind of lump sum of cash. Is sort of like a venture capitalist or something.
Capital.
It's our startup capital, right?
Sure.
So that was our startup capital, and we bought the trailer and we bought the truck, and we had some money left over. We didn't blow it all right away. We kept some in reserve, but without shows lined up, without more work steadily coming in, we learned some hard lessons about driving long distances, having a huge amount of outputs without very much of a promise of some input to counteract that. And so things started kind of heading the wrong direction on the financial side initially. But then we started learning how to get smarter with that. So how to start looking further ahead for booking work, things like that. We got a little creative at one time. We had this idea to play these kind of pop-up concerts at campgrounds where we just kind of roll in and just say, hey, we need a camp parking spot for the night and we happen to be musicians. Is it okay if we set up and play a show for the people in the campground? And they would say, yeah, sure, that sounds good. And then we'd set up and people would love it, but it just wasn't it wasn't paying very much at all. Mm-hmm. It was just pass around the hat and help us buy gas tomorrow. And,
and it paid for our stays.
Yeah, we would pay for the campground overnight. We were still just trying to be really creative about how to keep it sustainable. And the lessons that we've learned is not only with the money stuff, you have to look a little further ahead. You have to know what you're worth. You have to charge what you're really worth and not be afraid to do that. I think that's a lesson we've learned. We've also had to learn lessons about setting aside very purposeful time to still be creative. I think you were kind of touching on that earlier, is that if it's just all touring and all work all the time, and you can probably talk about this a little more, Teneia, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like, we are running our own website. We're doing all of our own social media. We're doing a lot of stuff right now. We do have a team on board, which we're just kind of forming. So they'll take over those things slowly but surely. We're delegating those things to them. But, it did hurt creativity for a while because we were just trying to figure out, we've got span of day, travel days that are like, okay, 8-hour travel days. And, after that, you just want to eat dinner and go to bed, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And not talk about work, which is a thing that we've had to learn in our marriage is like, okay, we can't be always work. We have to figure out, we can talk about work, but then have a couple time too. So the creative thing for me is like setting aside that time to be creative and have fun and to be inspired. And for me, as the main writer, when I'm inspired the most is when I have the time to just be. I don't have to do anything. I mean, today I got to, stay in my pajamas till 5 p.m. And that was like that's a good day for me. That's a good day. And I'm like, it's 4:30. I should have a glass of wine. That's like a good day because I don't have anything else to send an email about or anything else. But it is good to find that time. And when we find it, we have these like jewels of moments that we can believe in again, that we have something to move forward with. So
that's great. And one thing I was just going to say is you're talking about that balance and being on the road and looking where the money's coming from. Starving artists and a starving software app developer are kind of the same.
Yeah.
So I want to move a little bit in that direction. Let's talk about your brand.
Yeah.
You obviously have a great story with making a decision to go on the road. You had the funding. It got you out there. You had support. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had the funding.
Right.
And now going through the twists and turns of how this is actually going to work. How do you describe your brand and how do you ensure the brand that you've designed and you believe in is the brand that's connecting with your audience?
That's a really great question. So, we had our hard time and now we're in a really good space where we have a team of people. Financially, we're doing pretty well this year starting out. So we're getting ahead of the game. And then we are working with photographers that are really great at getting photos that look like we sound. So we call our music folk soul with a pop twist. And I think the photos kind of portray that. And then we're going a little bit further, and that is looking at everything we release and how we release it. Revamping our website. We're going to do that with our YouTube as well. And just really having, sticking to what our brand is and figuring out what it is and what's our market. So that's all in the works with our team right now. We all have been really great. The good thing is we are doing equality work. So that's a big thing for us is trying to connect people of all different races, all different genders, all different sexualities. It doesn't matter. Really trying to get the equality word out is the big thing for us. So that's a part of our brand. So we'll go back to Mississippi in June. And not only will we be featured on Visit Mississippi, so they're featuring us as one of the big artists for the year, but we're also going to do a video about Mississippi and equality and trying to create that brand within a state that I grew up in. So that's a part of the brand for us. And so that's where we're based out of Jackson, Mississippi now, is to stay really true to the brand and to start there and bring the brand to different areas in the states and in the world.
Yeah. For us particularly, just to echo the end of what she said, when we decided that love, equality, and great music, or delivering love and equality through great music, was going to kind of be our mantra, at least for now. When we got to Mississippi this last year, we saw a need there for more of that spirit. You know, Mississippi has a long history of some sort of dark things in this country, and that need is still very apparent in my mind, and I think you would probably agree with that, is that that's a message that still needs to be spoken on a regular basis, as loudly as possible in that place. So we have an idea that is true to who we are and what we stand for as individuals, and not only do we try and brand our photos and things in a way that evokes a certain image of our sound, but we're also trying to base ourselves and do work in a place where there's a need for the kind of morality side of our brand, or what we really believe in.
Brand around your passion, your values is so critical.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel that in your music. And I see how people connect in the audience in the same way. So that's a great step forward to getting more of that exposure and having people also connect with you on that level. So let's talk about that big break. What would you consider a big break at this point?
For us, it could look a few different ways. And I don't like to kind of put ourselves in, this is going to be the big break, because it's maybe not. We used to think if we just got on tour with a huge band, then that would be it. But right now, I think our big break probably will come through the equality work, because it's what we're so passionate about, and use that as the catalyst to connect people more. So my thing is not looking at numbers, but looking at how many people are moved in a direction to do something better for their lives and for other people's lives. I think our big break will probably come from that. The equality stuff. We want to do a video for a song we have called Stan, which is about racism and segregation. Our goal is to hopefully use some really big names in the video to show a positive light in Mississippi instead of a negative one. And if we get our wish with that and the names that we really want, I think, that could be a big break, which would be an honor, actually, because it would be not about a pop song, but it would be about a connection song. So that's what I think I can speak for the both of us in saying that would mean more to us.
Right. I think the recognition of us standing for that sort of message, of that association between some of these really influential people from Mississippi and our music and the message of the song Stand and what it means for equality, I think that would be a tremendous break. And then, from that recognition come the things that we all need, some of the stability in life in terms of knowing that you have work lined up, or knowing that you have a certain amount of finances coming in and the bills are paid, some of those basic needs, that all kind of takes off from there too as well.
So let's take a look at where the future goes with this movement. So there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it sounds very clear from what you said that you're definitely going together.
Yeah, we are with our team as well. They're amazing, young, vibrant, cool people. So they have the same mission we do.
And as you kind of power couple through the business, which is just a great story in and of itself. A lot of couples, when they're together and then they have to do business together and they're together all the time, some things kind of go awry. Just like a lot of partnerships. Certainly I see it in my world in tech. They're the best of friends and they start to work together and they tear each other apart. They don't talk to each other. So I think your message is very unique in that way, that what binds you together, what got you guys together, what got you on the road, which is behind this movement that you want to make, that's part of your dream, is so relatable and really, I think, adds to why people should understand what you're trying to say in your music. You're trying to live that message through it and not just get up there and get a gig and go home. And it's something a little bit deeper for you.
Right.
So I'm going to close our little conversation with a question I always ask all of my guests, which is, if you could share a drink like the bourbon we had tonight with anybody, who would it be and why?
For me, hands down, it would be Oprah. I'm like a Mississippi cliche about that, because I believe She bridged the gap. She's done equality work just in a different way. You know, she had television where Black women weren't the stars on television at that point in time. And she did so much work for so many different types of people. And so she would be a person that I would like to just have a really great spiritual conversation with and have bourbon with, or, you know, anything to have that time. She's amazing. So that's me. I'm Team Oprah.
I think I have to go with a musician, a hero of mine, a guy named Tom Morello. He was a guitar player in the band Rage Against the Machine. Mm-hmm. He was also an audio slave. I think he now performs solo as under the name The Night Watchman. And he's always been very politically active, always very pro-equality. I believe his parents were a mixed-race couple as well. He just always stands. The music and the bands he's always been associated with are people who are underprivileged, who are fighting for a right to be heard. And plus, I love the way he plays the guitar, too. So I would love to have a drink with him, and I think there would have to be a jam session involved as well.
That's wonderful. Well, Teneia, Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to have a spirited conversation with me. Best of luck on your next gig on the road in the RV.
Thank you.
And one final clink.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. For show notes and to get more insights from entrepreneurs and spirit lovers alike, please visit spiritedconversation.biz.
No fakes, I'm looking for the real thing, babe, the real thing, baby, the real thing. No way, you can't get through these walls I built without